It would be far easier for a priest just to remain isolated by himself and not think of the general needs of the church and stay that way. But Bishop Dolan has made the heroic effort to reach out, to work with other priests and other groups. He has assisted me in the past 2 years in bringing together over 30 priests. And with his consecration, there is also hope for other priests to join our ranks. You know, it is not the Took bishops or the Lefebvre bishops or the Took priest or the Lefebvre priest or this group or that group who are Roman Catholic. It's not this society or that society or this community who are Roman Catholic. And as such, we work together. We belong to the same church.
Next, after the problem of an heretical pope, we have the problem of an evil pope. I'm not saying that any of these popes are evil, but merely for the sake of argument, let's assume they are. After all, it is possible for a pope to be evil, and the whole Catholic world has recognized certain historical popes, like the notoriously immoral John XII, to have been evil. An evil pope could be one who changes canon law for the worse, thus introducing laxity and possibly poor morals. An evil pope could be one who gives scandal to people. He could be a Freemason. He could introduce new and even Protestantized liturgical rites. Is he still pope? That was purely a possibility. I'm not saying it happened. Is he still pope despite these evils? Yes. As far as changing church law, the pope is supreme legislator of the church and is above the law, as we mentioned before. The pope's infallibility is over faith and morals only. Law is not the proper subject of infallibility. Therefore, bad laws can come into the church. What if the pope is a Freemason? May God forbid it, but it is a possibility. I don't wish to give credence to any of the various lists which exist, lists that incriminate this cardinal or that bishop or such and such a pope as having been a Mason. I certainly would not want to be guilty of either calumny or detraction leveled at the person of the Pope. Just entertaining the possibility for the sake of argument is all I'm trying to do. A Freemason or any other person is deprived of his office by due canonical process. When it comes to the Roman Pontiff, there is no such process.
Now, one of the errors that is prevalent is sedevacantism, and I want to cover that area. Sedevacantism, which means a vacant seat, or the seat of Peter, which a true pope sits upon, is vacant. There's no question about it. The seat of Peter has been vacant at different times of the church, and is always vacant when a new pope is being elected, after a pope has died or in a conclave. The sedevacantist line is that there has been no pope since Pope Pius XII. Manifest heresy automatically or ipso facto affects an excommunication for any person in any office, and the Church has a right from God to separate itself from a heretical pope, and consequently to apply all the means that are in and of themselves necessary for such a separation. But in the case of the Pope, the determination that the person has lost his position would have to be made by the universal Church, most probably through the declaration of a general council, or stated by a future Pope, before Catholics could arrive at such a conclusion. And you have the example of St. Peter, where he denied our Lord to the point of cursing and blaspheming, but he didn't lose his position. And by the way, also, Padre Pio told John Paul II when he was a priest, he said, one day you'll be Pope. Now, he didn't say you'll be a good Pope. He just said, you'll be Pope one day. That's all he said. So the thing is, that's even a strong indicator in itself that they definitely are wrong. Sedevacantists claim simply there is no Pope anywhere, in spite of the fact that there hasn't been anything to keep the real Pope from coming out in the open. Most Sedevacantists cannot and do not even try to come up with anyone who may be the Pope. Every kind of misdeed. In a word, there is no divine promise that the Pope will not be permitted to use his great authority in the most wicked and destructive ways. Such a Pope, however, despite all and any manner of unholy action, would not lose his own legitimacy, his all-comprehensive jurisdiction, nor the divine prerogative of infallibility, so that, should an avowed conspirator become the Roman pontiff, were he converted, he might immediately set about repairing the damage he himself had inflicted on the Church, without needing to be re-elected, reinstalled, or reconfirmed in his office. Only his private confession, absolution from censure, which means penalty, that he might have incurred would be required. The widespread notion that anyone who incurs ipso facto excommunication is thereby out of the Church, no longer a member, and therefore loses all ecclesiastical offices, dignities, etc., is based on a fundamental misconception. Once a Catholic, always a Catholic is a valid principle. A valid excommunication does not mean that the Church thereby excludes the person altogether, but the subject may not participate in the life of the Church. That is, receive any of the sacraments of the living, or participate in liturgical ceremonies, or take part in church functions, etc. As regard any offices, they are lost through a canonical condemnation only. Loss of an ecclesiastical office occurs immediately upon the declaration of, quote, excommunication and to be avoided by the Pope himself. Obviously, the Supreme Pontiff cannot incur the censure. But at the same time, no one may justifiably blame even an errant Pope for his sins. The failure of any person, even the Pope, to keep God's laws or persevere in his own faith does not excuse any other person for his failure to do the same. And they do not convert, they will most certainly perish. And we know that this is predicted. So the thing is we know this is predicted. Our Lady of La Salette said on September the 19th, 1846, that Rome would lose the faith and become the Antichrist. So the main thing of all these things is to keep the Catholic faith, to uphold what has always been taught.